Tom Barry was Ireland's most successful IRA leader during the Irish War of Independence, which took place between 1919 and 1921. Leading a mobile column of men that never numbered more than 100, his exploits fighting the British Army and the RIC have entered legend. Using guerrilla tactics, he claimed to have killed over 100 British soldiers in the space of a year, not including police or informers, who he routinely executed. His most famous ambush at Kilmichael killed 16 men. Barry's side only lost 2. He later wrote of this period, "They said I was ruthless, daring, savage, bloodthirsty, even heartless. The clergy called me and my comrades murderers. But the British were met with their own weapons. They had gone in the mire to destroy us and our nation, and down after them we had to go." But before joining the IRA, he ironically began his military career in the British Army. Today I'm going to focus on his career as well as his early years growing up in County Cork. Barry was born on the 1st of July 1897 in Rosscarbery, West Cork. He was the second son amongst 11 children. His father, also named Thomas, worked for the RIC, the police force of Ireland at the time. This was the same force that Barry would later lead a guerrilla campaign against. Leaving school aged 17, he worked as a clerk for a merchant in Bandon before joining the British Army in 1915 after lying about his age. According to Barry, he joined the army for the following reasons. "In June, in my 17th year, I had decided to see what this great war was like. I cannot plead I went on the advice of John Redmond or any other politician that if we fought for the British we would secure home rule for Ireland, nor can I say I understood what home rule meant. I was not influenced by the lurid appeal to fight to save Belgium or small nations. I knew nothing about nations, large or small. I went to the war for no other reason than I wanted to see what war was like, to get a gun, to see new countries, and to feel a grown man. Above all, I went because I knew no Irish history and had no national consciousness." Barry enlisted in the Royal Field Artillery and served in both Egypt and Iraq, where he saw combat against the Ottoman Empire. His first taste of fighting was in the failed attempt to relieve the siege cut in Mesopotamia. The war there was different to Europe. The heat, floods, disease, and the mobile nature of the campaign all combined for a different, albeit still brutal, experience. The casualty rates the British took in these battles were comparable to the Western Front. Barry himself saw heavy fighting in this doomed relief attempt. The British took 23,000 casualties and had their greatest loss of the 3-year campaign. It was also here, 12 miles from Cut, that he heard about the Easter Rising in Dublin. It was, according to Barry, a rude awakening. He later participated in several British victories at the High Salient, Fallujah, and Bakuba, where the Turkish and British clashed in trench fighting. This was part of the broader Samarra Offensive of 1917, which ended in victory for the British, but at the cost of 18,000 casualties. By 1918, 2 years after his arrival in Iraq, he and his division had forced the Turks up the Tigris Valley in a series of engagements. During his service, he was mentioned in dispatches, but was also punished several times for small offences. This included being late for parade and being disrespectful to NCOs. His division was later sent to the Palestine front in 1918, now in its closing phases. Barry, however, remained in Egypt until 1919, which was the logistical hub of the fight in Palestine. Barry returned to Ireland in 1919 and was discharged from the army with a positive reference. His papers noted that he was a good, hard-working man. He received a disability pension in May for malaria and a heart issue. It is unclear if this referred to PTSD or an actual heart disorder, but he was hospitalized in 1920 and 1922 for heart problems, which likely confirms the latter. It is curious that within a year of his return, Barry would kill nearly 20 fellow army veterans at Kilmichael, and that he never expressed remorse for it. Quote, "I was the first army officer to tackle the dreaded auxiliaries at Kilmichael, and I smashed their power that broke forever the morale of those mercenaries who were especially enlisted for their fighting qualifications and their bloodthirstiness. I did it with 22 riflemen, not one of whom had ever fired a shot in action previously. I left 18 of them dead and burnt their lorries, and their comrades never waited for us once after that." He applied for a British civil service job in 1919 and served as the secretary of the Ex-Servicemen's Association. He later claimed he was infiltrating it to supply the IRA with intelligence, but other veterans later said this was untrue. Some factors that may have led him to join the IRA include a beating he received from the British in late 1919 and the murder of his friend John Burke by the British Army. Burke, like Barry, was also a fellow veteran, and Barry was his honour guard at his funeral under his position as secretary of the Ex-Servicemen's Association. Whatever the reason for his change of heart, the IRA was initially suspicious of Barry due to his background and only allowed him to join with caution. Fortunately for them, he excelled in his post and quickly became leader of his soon infamous flying column. In another video, I will discuss his IRA career, but I first wanted to highlight his background, which was not unusual for the time. Several Army veterans joined the IRA and proved to be useful due to their combat experience and knowledge of how the British military worked. Still, it is a deep irony that the greatest IRA commander of the period would break his teeth in a British war far, far from home. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.